So our keynote speaker today, we are blessed to have him. We're blessed to have him in Louisiana because he is sharing his story all over the country and sharing the pro-life message about why men should be involved in the pro-life cause. And his story is powerful. He lives in Lake Charles. He has a great family, and he's the CEO of Men for Life, which is a national pro-life organization that focuses on encouraging men to stand up for life. You know, too often people see this as not something men should be involved in. But we got a great group of men here today, right? If you're a man, hold your hand up. Thumbs up for all the pro-life men here today. Thank you for standing for life. So please give me a CENLA welcome to Sean Corcoran.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to do something real quick just to make sure the people who pay me know that I showed up. So if you could all hold your signs up and let us see them. That's awesome, thank you. And I got to do one more thing. And I know that Ben earlier did this with the theme for this year, but since I practiced with my kids in the car, I'm going to keep with what I already had planned. So I'm going to say pro-life, and I'm going to say we are, and I'm going to ask you to say pro-life. We're just going to do it 3 times. It's going to help me to connect with you as the audience. We are. Pro-life. We are. Pro-life. And now just the kids, as loud as you can. I want to hear every kid here. We are. Pro-life. I love that there were some adult kids out there. You know, at this point as a pro-life speaker, I've stood on several stages in front of as many as 800 to 1,000 people. I've been filmed on expensive sets with all the cameras and lights and hair and makeup, and I got to tell you, it must take a lot to make this look good. But there is nothing more special than standing outside on a beautiful day with kids running around, talking with people who have just made a real effort to do something active in support of the pro-life movement. Please give yourselves a round of applause because you are the heart of the pro-life movement. Last week I touched base with Abby Rose about the schedule for today, and she let me know there was some horrible weather coming and the event was going to have to be moved inside. And I said, nope. I've already written my speech and I included how great it is to be outside, so we're going to make this work. And look at this. God can move heaven and earth, and he did. Not for me, so I wouldn't have to rewrite my speech, but for all of you here today. I also read the other day that if you're feeling stuck or sad or negative, studies have shown that one of the best things you can do is go for a walk. Because in walking, you are moving your body forward and making physical progress, and that sends signals to your brain that allows you to feel forward momentum and positive movement, which can snap you out of negative emotions. Walking literally changes the way we think about things. And isn't that the goal when we march for life? Change. By each and every one of you coming here today, joining with the hundreds of thousands of people who participated in a March for Life in DC or somewhere else this year, we are moving forward and making progress. We are changing the way our community and our nation thinks about abortion. There is power in what we are doing here today. You are the women and mothers who know a love for children unlike anything that I, as a man and a father, can possibly know. You are the children, the next generation of the pro-life movement, who, God willing, will live a good portion of your life in a time when abortion has been abolished in this country. And you are the men and fathers who are leading your family to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves, especially the unborn. Women have been leading the fight for life from the beginning. Some are driven by their motherly instinct to keep all children safe. Some are driven by the regret of loss of their own child and a selfless desire to ensure that no other woman has to feel that pain. I've met women who were conceived in rape and women who survived unsuccessful abortion procedures. Regardless of their reason, women are inseparable from the pro-life movement. We can do none of this without you. But you see, for men, the pro-life movement is different. We've been told for over 52 years that it's none of our business, that we don't have a voice, that our opinion doesn't matter because we don't have a uterus, that we have to be silent. And 52 years of this type of politicized indoctrination by the abortion industry and those who support it, that's a long time, and it sinks in. And the men in this country have begun to accept it. I don't even want to say they've begun to believe it, because it's so pervasive that it's become this thing that doesn't require belief or disbelief. It just is. And that lie of the abortion industry and those who have sold their souls to it has impacted men more than we realize because of the silence. And by impacting the men and stripping them of their masculine obligation to stand up, speak up, and protect those who have been entrusted to our protection, our families have been impacted. And by impacting our families, our communities, and our nation have been impacted. The emasculation of America over the last 52 years is clear, and I believe it can be traced to the lies of abortion. The lie that our unborn babies are just a clump of cells. The lie that abortion is a women's issue. The lie that abortion is about reproductive rights. The lie that men have no voice. The lie that we have no right to protect our children. One of the most basic and instinctual obligations of a man. And as that was lost in our society, so went so many other things. I was a 19-year-old college freshman when I was silenced. I sat in a dorm room as I was told that my unborn child was going to be aborted. I fought, but without tools or words or resources to know what to say or what to do, other than, "You can't do this," I lost. It was the first time in my life that it was made clear that I was powerless. And with the loss of my child and the loss of my masculinity, I lost hope. I sat in my dorm room, empty and silent, and failed out of school. I moved home and tried to move on, but ultimately I failed out of a second college 2 more times. I began using alcohol, women, and drugs to fill the void and change how I felt. And to be honest, at this point, with the belief that my feelings about losing my child weren't valid, I had shoved them down so far that I didn't even know what pain I was trying to numb. And on December 13th, 2005, I was 27 years old, homeless, unemployed, and at the end of a 7-year methamphetamine addiction, lying on a dirty hotel room floor overdosing and waiting for the police to arrest me for theft from my most recent employer. And this was the second time in my life that it was made clear that I was powerless. And with nothing left to live for, and nobody left who would answer if I called, because of all the horrible things that I had done to everyone who loved and cared about me during that 7 years, lying, stealing, blaming, manipulating, all the things that addicts do. With no one else to turn to, I turned to God. I turned to God and I prayed that He would let me live, not because I felt I had anything to live for at this point, but because the most terrifying thing that I could think of was letting my family down one more time in the most extreme way by being found dead of an overdose in a hotel room. It was out of that fear alone that I turned to God. And what happens when we turn to God? We are God's children. He is our Father. And as I said before, it is the most basic and instinctual obligation of a father to protect his children. And I'm not standing here today putting obligations on God, but it is because of His unceasing, unwavering, unconditional love and protection for His children that humanity was designed with that same obligation. And so He held me in His embrace as I fell asleep in that hotel room floor. And I didn't die. And when I woke up, the police hadn't come. And I didn't want to get arrested. And I didn't want to continue the life I had been living. And God led me out. I walked to the parking lot to my small pickup truck that held everything I owned, reached behind the driver's seat, and pulled out a pamphlet for a treatment center that had been shoved back there under everything else for about 2 years. I called and they said they had a bed and I could go that day. I called my dad and I told him what I was doing, and he met me and filled my truck with gas. And I took off in a vehicle that hadn't had maintenance or an oil change for several years. I drove through the Kisatchie Forest just praying I wouldn't break down in the middle of nowhere. When I got to Shreveport and started hitting hills, that truck started shaking. And I prayed that I would just make it to the treatment center. When I pulled into the parking lot, the truck broke down, and I was done. I wasn't scared to live anymore. I wasn't scared to die anymore. I knew that I was right where I needed to be. I knew that the life I had been living was over, and I was about to step out onto a path of redemption. Now, I mentioned earlier that when I was using methamphetamine and other drugs daily for years and years, I had no knowledge of what it was that I was trying to kill, what the pain was coming from. All I knew was that I couldn't live with how I felt, and I did everything I could to change it. But in treatment, with the help of amazing counselors, I was given the gift of reconnecting with the loss of my child. I was given the gift of naming my son, Michael, my father's middle name. I was given the gift of writing letters, asking forgiveness from Michael and forgiving his mother and my younger self. I was given the gift of permission to mourn the loss and to begin to heal. I won't pretend that I walked out of there after 45 days completely fixed. Recovery from addiction is a long and hard process, but I walked out of there on track to a better life. I went back to college and then to law school. I married the woman I had been pursuing for nearly a decade, but whom God had been protecting from me during my addiction because he knew she was the right one. Michelle and I had 2 children, and then we began discussing adoption. And on August 24th, 2018, we received a call letting us know that a baby had been born, mom was on drugs, had no prenatal care, and asked the doctor to find him a family. Think about this. This mother, who knew that she was not able to care for her unborn child, chose to carry him to term in the midst of her struggles, which were so much like mine, and to give him the gift of life, and ultimately to give our family the gift of another son. There is no act more selfless than what that woman did. She is a hero. A couple of years later, we welcomed 2 more children into our home and finalized their adoption on August 23rd, 2023, almost 5 years to the date of bringing home Henry. Today, I'm retired from the practice of law, and I run a national nonprofit pro-life organization called Men for Life. It is my life's mission to honor God and all of my children, living and deceased, by working to ensure that no man believes that he is without a voice or is powerless in this fight, and ultimately to change the narrative around men and abortion. Because men, our voice does matter, but we have to hear that from another man. That's how men connect. And the only way we will get more men speaking openly about abortion and the impact of abortion and the pain and the hurt and the loss is by them first hearing from other strong men so that they know that they're not alone. Every single one of you has a story. Every single one of you has a reason that you are here today. Every single one of you carries great value in your thoughts and words and actions. And I'm calling on you to trust God, to forego the fear, and to step up, step out, and to speak out against the atrocities of abortion. That is how we will change the narrative that men have no voice and no right to speak. That is how we will step into our masculinity so that we can not only stand shoulder to shoulder with all of the strong women in this fight, but so that we can lead others in our own right, so that we can serve God and humanity by protecting the unborn with strength, so that in place of the old narrative, a new truth can be known, that real men are protectors, providers, pro-family, pro-woman, and pro-life. Thank you, and God bless you.